something which everyone thinks is potentially doable because of the tremendous strengths we have, not just with our great entrepreneurial companies in life sciences as we have today, and digital technology and advanced manufacturing and so on, but also because of our strength in financial services and also our very strong higher education sector, the second strongest in the world. And so that gives us the potential ingredients to do something very remarkable. But we don't underestimate the challenges in getting there. We know that there are lots of hurdles we have to overcome. So this is something that will happen over the next decade or two. But the striking thing is that since I first used that phrase in the autumn statement, it has not been met by ridicule. It's just been met by a certain amount of excitement and a certain amount of nervousness as to whether we're really willing to confront the challenges that it will take to get there. And so in life sciences, which is the area that we're talking about today, we're very aware of the challenges, for example, of adoption in the NHS, the pricing negotiations on VPAS, which I'm sure someone is going to raise at some stage. Also questions around clinical trials, about onshoring of manufacturing, about regulation. So there are lots of specific things that we can do in life sciences that will really help you take off. But we're doing it from a very strong base. We have the largest life science industry in Europe, thanks to the efforts of people in this room. And we think this is a really big opportunity for the UK if we're prepared to make difficult decisions, confront difficult choices, but do what it takes to help you to succeed. And I made two, I think, important steps in the budget. One of them was to put back in place an R&D tax relief scheme for particularly focused on life sciences industries, the research intensive industries that we really wanted to carry on helping and do it in a way that avoided some of the abuse that we had under the old scheme. But also the big change in the approach that the MHRA is going to take from next year, where it's going to, I mean, they've done an amazing job. We're very lucky with the MHRA, but they are going to aim to be the fastest, nimblest regulator in the world, but also often automatically approve regulations made by other countries where we trust their regulators. So that will make the UK an extremely attractive place for people to launch new medicines and get new medicines onto the market. So we've made some steps, but there are lots more. I've got a cast of ministers and names that you will be extremely familiar with. John Simons from GSK, who is helping me on a range of issues, but particularly helping me work out how we address the issue of scale-up funding, so that we don't find that our startups finally have to go overseas if they want to get the funding to become the world's biggest and best. They could do that here in the UK, and John's given me very good advice. John Bell, no one will have heard of here, so I'll let him introduce himself and explain what he does, but I think he's probably someone who, you know, in the cliche, really does need no introduction. Will Quince from the Department of Health, and Naz Ghani, who's going to talk about the business angle and how we can give you support to expand them as businesses. We've got some parliamentary votes this afternoon, so I'll be here for the whole afternoon, but there's going to be some chopping and changing. Naz and Will have to go back to Parliament, but Michelle Donnellan, the DCIT Secretary, will be coming here for our wrap-up session, so she'll be along as well a little bit later. But without further ado, I'm just going to hand over to my colleagues here, who are just going to give you a couple of minutes as to what they think the most important things are that we need to address, and then we'll have some questions. I haven't got a particular order, so I think I'm going to do ladies first.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chancellor. It's really a great pleasure to be here at the Treasury Connect event, mostly to catch up with friends and to see so much of the sector represented here in the room. And look, I just hope you agree with all of us that this is the best place in the world to invest in life sciences. We've got the best scientific excellence across the country, an ecosystem that supports innovation and R&D expertise. I hear that everywhere I go. But we're not complacent. We know it's an incredibly competitive field. I used to be the Life Science Minister. I'm now a Minister for Industry and Economic Security at the new Super Department of Business and Trade, which is really fantastic because you know I'm one of your champions and I'll keep working for you and with you over at the new department. And we know the value, the economic, social value that investment in life sciences brings into the UK. And we know it's difficult, we know it's competitive, and we know that the competitiveness has intensified since the pandemic. But we've had some really good news in the budget. Many of you would have been in the room with me when we all lobbied the Chancellor, who then turned to me and asked me which side I was on, but I was on the side of the sector Chancellor, but I'll come back and be on our side soon enough. And we got some fantastic news. We had 100% tax deduction for capital expenditure on plant and machinery. We're also driving forward our investment zones programme, which will help with the clustering that's asked by so many of you. And there's up to £80 million available for interventions in that space, which can be used flexibly between tax offices as well. And then just yesterday, we had further good news where we announced the first wave of 4 manufacturing investments funded by the Life Sciences Innovation Manufacturing Fund. It is £17 million of government funding, but really good news is that it unlocks £260 million in private sector investments. And I think we're just very good at doing that. I want to do more with your support. But as I said earlier, we're not complacent. We know we need to do more. We want to make sure that companies feel that they can invest and grow here. We want you to remain here and want to make sure this is the best place for you to invest. We know how difficult it is for startups. We want to make sure that space is good for you. And we do get it. We know there are challenges. We want to get it right to make sure you get the right talent, the right skills, and the right space to develop your businesses. Our life science vision sets out huge ambition in this area. But we want to work with you, and we know that we need to work with you to succeed, which is why Will and I are here once again to hear what you can tell us, teach us, so we can make this the best place in the world for you to invest in life sciences.